you have this huge goal, yet you cannot seem to push through the mental block, that you have something that you want to do full time, but you can't seem to beat procrastination. This is something that we see over and over and over again. And it's this idea that you don't ever start. You stay trapped in your head. And if you feel paralyzed, if you've been spinning the same ideas over and over and over again, then you know what I'm talking about. You see, many of you are thinking way too fucking big. You're attaching way too much pressure on the things that you're interested in. Until you start blogging about fashion, you won't even know if you like it. So thinking that you have a dream about doing it and thinking that you have this grand plan that you're going to do it full time, it is a complete and utter waste of your time to be dreaming that big. And let me tell you why. Because oftentimes, if you're the kind of person like Vicky that's getting trapped up here, the bigness of what you're thinking about is what's stopping you. What I want you to do if you're in Vicky's situation is I want you to stop dreaming and I want you to just start doing small things. I want you to go back to curiosity and less into crushing your big goals. The thing about life and business and success is that you have to be willing to start. And for people that procrastinate, starting is the hardest part. For people that worry, for people that think too big, starting is the hardest part. Folks that study procrastination talk about the fact that the only way to beat procrastination is to create what they call a starting ritual, which is a way to push yourself to get started. Because all the research shows that if we can push you to get started on something, you'll likely keep going. So, Vicky, the only way to get out of the mental trap is to stop fucking thinking and actually start doing it. And maybe thinking that this is going to be your full-time employment, that's the wrong way to go about it. I want you to literally just commit to writing some sort of blog about fashion every day for a fucking week. That's it. Don't think about full-time. Don't think about the bigness of it. Actually start doing it. You may discover you don't like it, for crying out loud, but you're never, ever, ever going to advance if you continue up here. How do you force yourself to do it? Well, you can use the 5-second rule for that. You can wake up in the morning and say, today I'm committing to making small progress on this thing I'm curious about, which is fashion blogging. You can find time when you're going to sit down, and then the second that it's time to do it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and start writing. Here's what you can expect to experience if you're somebody like Vicky who has trouble getting out of the thinking loop. The second that it's time to actually move from thought to action, you will become a first-class asshole. You will feel resistance. You will struggle with what you're going to write. You will start to feel like it needs to be perfect. You're going to come up with excuses. You're going to talk yourself out of it. Why? Well, because you're used to thinking, and now you're asking yourself to do. Why am I explaining what you should expect? The reason why I'm explaining what you should expect is because it's normal to feel those things. It's normal to feel scared. It's normal to feel like you don't want to do it. It's normal to think about doing it perfect. Letting those things stop you is a choice.
The only thing that I think people should fear is standing still. So I've often said that running 1,000 miles an hour in the wrong direction is better than standing still. And then people say, Tom, that's bullshit. Now you're, so far down the road and you've got to redo all that shit and start moving in the other direction. And that's where I suppose the analogy lets me down, because the reality is when you're running in the wrong direction, you're not moving away from getting something right. The only time that happens is when you refuse to analyze the data. Now, if somebody is closing their mind because the farther they go in the wrong direction, they're investing in that position, they're telling people that they're right and they're doubling down. Yes, that moronic behavior is creating a bigger and bigger problem for you. But if when you're running in the wrong direction, you're like, hey, I am prepared. The second I have information that tells me that this is the wrong direction, I will learn from that and I will immediately start going in the right direction. Now, the good news is you actually don't have to retread all that ground that you went on. What you're doing is now you're armed with a new piece of information that's going to let you, as Henry Ford says, begin again more intelligently. So the full Henry Ford quote is, failure is merely the opportunity to begin again more intelligently. So what I want people to understand is failure, mistakes, all of that is the most information-rich data stream you will ever encounter. Okay, let me say that again. Failure is the most information-rich data stream you will ever encounter. You go and you do something wrong, and you realize why it was wrong. Now, once you understand, oh my God, now I know why that was never going to work in the beginning. Now I can get going the way that I need to go. And by the way, that new way that you're going to go is almost certainly also going to be a mistake. And you're going to learn, oh shit, okay, here's another piece of the puzzle. And now you're going in the righter direction, the more accurate direction, the more useful direction, and you're going to get another piece of information, okay? So you want to start thinking of mistakes and failure the way that artificial intelligence thinks of it. It's called a sample. So this wrong direction is merely a sample. You tried something, it's going to give you a piece of data. That piece of data is going to inform your next move, which is going to give you a piece of data, which is going to inform your next move. So instead of thinking about these as right or wrong mistakes, just fucking decide. Okay, let me say it again. Just decide. The only thing that's stopping you is you're worried that it's wrong, or you're worried there's a better way. Let me make it easy for you. It is wrong. There is a better way, but you're never going to know until you start moving. I remember Marie Forleo came on my show one time. She said, you can't think your way to understanding something. You just have to act. And I was like, that's brilliant. It is so true. And her example was a dance class. She said she learned more in 60 seconds of actually dancing at a dance class about whether or not she wanted to be a dancer than she had in years of thinking about it. The same is true in business. You're going to learn infinitely more about whether something works by just trying it than you are by thinking about it. And then from there, there's something called ICE, where you're going to, it's basically weighing the impact of something versus how hard it is to implement. And so you find that sweet spot of what's the thing that takes the least amount of energy for the biggest amount of impact. And that's how you prioritize. And so you can also just put things in order of that and just blindly follow ICE and say, that I learned this from that. I learned that from this. Ooh, this one was a total bust, but I got this piece of information. And then you will get better and better and better at ICE as you go. But everybody wants their shit to be amazing from the jump. It's not. It's all going to suck. Most of your ideas are going to be moronic. Most of your execution is going to be what a buffoon could do. But from all of that, you start to actually get good. And that's the key. Mistakes are the most information-rich data stream you will encounter. So go make some.
Well, here's specifically what I do to make sure I don't procrastinate. I literally visualize and affirm what I'm about to go do. So if it's Sunday and I say, okay, tomorrow in the afternoon, I've got all these things, I can procrastinate because I'm the only one holding myself accountable. And I could say, well, you know what? Let's see here. How would I avoid that? I will sit down and I'll do this 20, 30 minutes a day, visualizing the next day. Or that morning, I'll sit down and visualize the day, and I'll just step it through. I'll say, okay, let me see myself going into the kitchen, getting my little green tea, going over to the office, sitting down at the computer, opening up that blank page, happily typing along, sensing and feeling those great emotions of doing my calling as a writer. Let me feel the power and the joy of finishing a great day of writing. Let me imagine myself going to dinner, getting to sit down with my wife and saying, honey, here's what I did today. I wrote this part of the book. Let me hear, see, and feel that interaction with her happiness and her joy that I'm doing my path. Let me imagine myself going to bed that night happy that, you know what? I did what I'm here to do. Now, I don't know what your calling is or what you feel like you should be doing, but for me, that simple little activity of just literally walking the entire day through, not just one thing. I do this with mega athletes all the time. I say, listen, I don't want you to just imagine the fight. I want you to visualize yourself on the way over to the arena. I want you to visualize yourself getting laced up. I want you to visualize yourself on the walk down to the ring, entering the ring, your first feelings walking around the ring, the sense that you will have as you're in that fight, that sense that you have when you're getting beaten in that fight, and how you're going to feel and respond to that. Because visualization is not just happy-go-lucky. It's also like, okay, see yourself. What do you do when there's a struggle? So for me, okay, what do I do when I get writer's block? How does the Brendon dealing with writer's block deal with that? And I'll see it I'll imagine myself getting back at it, and I'll see it through. How does it feel when you win? How does it feel after the win? How does it feel at the end of the day? How does it feel when you finally lay your head onto your pillow and go to bed? That is a full day visualization on the things that matter the most for your productivity. And I want you to do that at least either the night before or the day of, the morning of. And what will happen, these two things together, as I know you might say, Brendon, that's so basic, but okay, did you do it last night? Because I've found as a high performance coach, sometimes it is not the big crazy things, it's that people aren't doing the fundamentals.